These are the new metal releases for September 5th, 2025. There were a lot of albums that I wanted to check out this week. I didn't have time to get to all of them. I chose 4 full-length albums and 1 EP. I have a solo album from one of the legendary XD Purple members. I have some old school thrash metal. I have an EP from a symphonic band. Then I have some death doom and a band that's bringing back new metal. So there's a wide variety of styles in this episode, so let's get into it. First band I have is Electrocutioner with Harbinger. This is a 3-piece New York-based band. Plays old school thrash metal. The band includes Mark Porcino on guitars, on vocals, Rich Nieves on bass, and Tyler Boglioli on drums. This is thrash metal at its most extreme. They list their influence as Whiplash, Slayer, and Exorcist, so everything is fast and aggressive. The opening track is called Doomsday Device. This song takes off with lots of speed and guitar shredding. The vocals are very harsh and close to death metal with some Slayer-type screams. Then there is Lightning Sacrifice. This one has more of an old-school thrash metal sound and lots of blazing guitar riffs. They slow things down a little bit with the next song called Heaven's Gate. I like this one a lot. It has a really cool groove to it. I also like the title track because it has some guitar riffs that sounded like they came straight out of the 80s. Towards the end of the album is a song called ACL. It's a straightforward thrasher, but I like the song because it has this spoken word section at the end of it, and I thought that really worked well in the song. Overall, it's some killer thrash. It's a little on the extreme side, but if you like your thrash like that, definitely check out this band. My score will be an 8 out of 10. I think it's something that I will be listening to often. So moving on to the next one is Glenn Hughes with Chosen. This guy's a legend. He started in the early 70s with a band called Trapeze. Then he was in the Mark III and Mark IV lineups of Deep Purple in the mid-70s. And he's done so much more. He has released many solo albums over the years, and this is his first one since 2016. Also, if you didn't know, Glenn Hughes is primarily known as a bass player and vocalist. Opening track is called Voice in My Head. This one starts off like a typical hard rock song, but there are some guitar riffs in there that kind of reminded me of Tom Morello's Rage Against the Machine, so it's a hard rock, but with more of a modern sound. By the way, the guitars are played by Danish guitar player Søren Andersen. There's also a little bit of variety on the album as we get to the track called Heal, which sounded a little bit more like some 90s grunge. The song after this also sounded like grunge, but more along the lines of Soundgarden, and that was In the Golden. After this song is another one called At the Parade. And that was another one that was pretty cool. It has some like sludgy Alice in Chains types of guitar riffs. But then he changes it back to what he normally does with a song called Hot Damn, and he's going back to his roots, sounding like some typical blues rock. And if you didn't think he could go in any more directions, he plays this psychedelic Beatles-esque ballad called Come and Go towards the end of the album. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I thought it was just going to be typical blues rock, but there's a lot of variety here, and sometimes it gets a little heavy, so I like it a lot. This will be another 8 out of 10. I've always been a fan of his work. Everything from Dead Daisies to Black Country or Black Country Communion, but he's done so much. Next is the EP by Swedish symphonic metal band Eleine called We Stand United. I was able to get this one early, so I was able to listen to it a few times. There are 5 songs. It's about 19 minutes long. First one is basically an intro track. So you get that, and then you get 1 song and 3 live tracks. So the album opens with the intro track called Towards the Fields, which has some Middle Eastern sounds and chanting, and that sets the pace for the next song. Next song is the main song called We Stand United. This one surprised me a little bit because the intro was pretty heavy. It had heavy chugging guitar riffs. It sounded like this Amon Amarth style melodic death metal, but the song had that typical symphonic metal sound that this band is known for. Next is a live track called Never Forget. I like the song a lot. It has some big vocals, some awesome drumming. Then another live track called We Are Legion. This had some big epic symphonic metal type sounds, and I thought it was a good track. Then he ended with a remake of one of their old songs called Promise of Apocalypse. This is a different version. They call it the symphonic version. I've never listened to the original because I'm not very familiar with this band, but I'm interested in checking them out. So I liked everything I heard, and I'll probably be checking out more of their stuff. I'm not going to give it a score. It's just an EP, so I'm just going to give it a thumbs up or a recommendation. So check it out. If you know this band, let me know if they have some pretty good albums. So moving on to the next band is something different. They're called Nailed to Obscurity with Generation of the Void. This is a German melodic death and doom or melodic doom death metal band as they're listed. They've been active since 2005. They're signed to Nuclear Blast Records, and this is their 5th full-length album. This was my first time listening to this band. They reminded me of bands like Catatonia or Opeth. The album opens with a song called Glass Bleeding. Starts off with some death metal and harsh vocals, but then they bring in melodic, clean vocals and more of an atmospheric sound. The next track is called Liquid Morning. This one has more of that heavy, progressive death metal sound with some big guitar riffs. But then the main chorus comes in and they bring clean vocals and more of the atmospheric and gloomy sound. The next few songs on the album seem to follow that particular formula, with a heavy intro going into the softer verse. There was one track towards the end of the album that stood out called Allure. I like this one. It started off with softer guitars and clean vocals, and that song maintained that softer, more atmospheric sound throughout most of the song's runtime. There was another song I like called Clouded Frame. I like that. It reminded me of classic Opeth in the second half of the song. This might be a grower for me because I didn't get a chance to give it that many listens, but for now I'll give it 7 out of 10. I think I can get into it because it's a type of music I like, but I'll probably have to listen to it a few times. And finally, this is a band a lot of people are talking about called Tallah. The album is Primeval, Obsession, Detachment. So the band has been getting a lot of buzz lately. They're bringing back new metal, but they're doing it in a way that pays homage to some classic bands like Slipknot, but at the same time, they're bringing something fresh to the genre. The band has been active since 2017. It's their 3rd album, released through Earache Records. Opening track is an intro track going into the main first song called What We Know. The song is very representative of their sound. Think of these almost hip-hop style drum beats, some turntable scratches, more bass guitar driven song with guitars a little more in the background, and just some crazy vocals. It's all hard to describe, but the band is very unique. The next track is called Augmented. This one has some feedback and guitars and a pretty cool music video because it looks like they recorded it with this old VHS camera, and the bass playing is awesome. It kind of reminds me of Les Claypool or Primus, and after this is a song called As Fate Undoes. This one gives me some Mudvayne vibes, but again, the band has their own sound. Then there's another song called Primeval, Detachment. And this one is just complete madness. I can't even describe what's going on. There's so much energy in the song, but I can say the bass and drums are really awesome. There's another song I like called Depleted. It kind of reminds me of Primus, but with so many other influences. And I like that the song has this little acoustic guitar interlude. Actually, not this one. It was the next one called What We Want. It was in that song. But anyway, really good album. I give this one 8 out of 5 out of 10. It'll probably get better after repeat listens. I know a lot of channels are raving about this, but I liked it. So it's some good stuff. And that is all. Those are the new metal releases of September 5th, 2025. Check out my video on the best metal albums of August 2025. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you are not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.